Hello and welcome. My name is Zaffar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo story. Amid sloganeering by the members of the opposition, Prime Minister Modi today replied to the motion of thanks in the Rajya Sabha during the ongoing budget session. He spoke at length about the government's achievements but made no reference about Gautam Adani. Hitting out at the opposition, he said, "Jitni कीचड़ उछालोगे, kamal खिलता रहेगा." The opposition leaders have been bringing up allegations of proximity between Prime Minister and Adani in their speech in the parliament. Both in his Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha addresses, Prime Minister Modi hit out at the opposition but avoided any direct reply on the Adani issue. He referenced an ecosystem that was unhappy at India's progress. Meanwhile, raids were conducted by the tax officials in Himachal Pradesh on the Adani Wilmar company. This comes just days after Rahul Gandhi attacked the BJP in the parliament for what he termed the party's close ties with the business group. Reports said that the raids were carried out after the company failed to deposit the GST collection. Adani Wilmar is a joint venture between Adani Group and Singapore-based Wilmar. To discuss this, we're joined by an eminent panel. We're joined by Dr. Shraddha Rajput from the BJP. We're also joined by Dolly Sharma. She joins us now from the Congress. Tavleen Singh, author and columnist, she joins us. Surya Kane-Goenka, who's an investor, he also joins us. Salim Dharnidharan from the DMK, he also joins us. Welcome all to the show. If I may start with you, Tavleen, first. How do you see Rahul Gandhi's attacks on the Prime Minister, linking him with Adani, and the Prime Minister's response both in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha?
I think that Rahul Gandhi's attacks are a continuation of something he's been saying since 2014, since that election. So, he's cried wolf a little too often, as far as I can see. You've got to actually have proof that somehow Modi has a stake in the Adani Group to make the kind of charges that have been made. As for the Prime Minister's response, I think he's made a mistake by not responding to the charge, because everybody knows his links with Adani, his links of friendship and association go back a very long way. So when he deliberately avoids mentioning the name of a man who is known to be his friend, I believe it harms him much more than he realizes. And then to blame it on the world having an ecosystem that is attacking India, I think that kind of thing is really, it shows weakness rather than strength. Because actually, most Western countries are on India's side. They want India to succeed so that we can be a buffer to China. So that doesn't really hold any water. And, on the one hand, you're saying you're very proud to be the head of G20 this year. On the other hand, you're going on about how the West hates you. It doesn't make sense. The Prime Minister needs to have a much better way of dealing with this.
Yeah, there is a contradiction there. But Dr. Shraddha Rajput, why didn't the Prime Minister make a mention of Adani? The opposition is asking about it, and it's become an important issue over the last few days.
See, first of all, I would like to thank you for asking this question. First of all, I am a spokesperson from Bharatiya Janata Party. I am not spokesperson from Adani. I am not here to defend, defame, and promote Adani ji. Okay, what is the Adani ji is doing? That is the other part, and it will be looked after by the country's other agencies. If Adani ji has done anything wrong or right, whatever, let them investigate the entire thing. And why Prime Minister asked for Adani? I don't understand. There are n number of businessmen, n number of investors, n number of peoples are here, and they have been doing their business in India. See, so why? Because Gautam Adani is coming from Gujarat. That is the only reason. Or any picture with Pradhan Mantri ji and Adani ji? Is there? There are so many pictures with Adani ji, Mamta Banerjee ji, Adani ji, Robert Vadra ji. See, I am not saying that Adani ji and Mamta Banerjee are good friends. I am not saying Robert Vadra ji and Adani ji are good friends. I am not saying anything about this. See, Gautam Adani is a businessman. He has been doing his business. I don't think so कि Gautam Adani, Ratan Tata जी और अंबानी जी जिन सबका नाम लिया जाता है, they born after 2014. इससे पहले से हमारे कंट्री में है. They have been doing their businesses with the former prime minister as well. तो मुझे नहीं
Right.
लगता कि जिस तरह से इस
No,
मुद्दे को उठाया गया है,
no. The
पहले
point
तो
is
समझ
that
में नहीं आता कि इसके लिए जवाब ही क्यों दें.
no. He spoke at length in both the houses, but he didn't really uh, uh, mention about Adani. That was the
Why? But why?
that was the.
What is the reason? Give me one single reason. Why?
So let's
Give me one
ask
single reason
let's
why
ask
Prime Minister
Dolly
has to
Sharma. Dolly
spoke
Sharma,
or
why is
clarify Adani ji?
okay?
Give me
Dolly
one
Sharma,
single
why
reason.
is Rahul Gandhi accusing Prime Minister of protecting Adani? After all, it's just a report. A probe has been launched. There is no final conclusion yet.
Yeah, see, on 19th July 2021, the Ministry of Finance had admitted to the Parliament that the Adani Group was under investigation for violating SEBI regulations. Yet Adani Group stock prices were allowed to spiral after that. So we are just wanting to have an inquiry. And in this, we raised few questions in front of the Prime Minister. Why he is shying away from the fact, or why Prime Minister is not ready for that inquiry? This is the question of Rahul Gandhi ji. Again and again, why he is not saying yes to the inquiry? We want JPC. We said JPC बुला लो, JPC बिठा लो, इंक्वायरी करा लो. एक बार प्रधानमंत्री जी ये नहीं कह रहे कि ठीक है हम रेडी हैं इंक्वायरी कराने के लिए. यही तो बस क्वेश्चन है कांग्रेस पार्टी का. यही हमारा सवाल है कि हम बार बार यही कह रहे हैं कि आप जब एक व्यक्ति के पीछे इतनी सारी बातें आ रही हैं, खुद फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने भी बताया कि वायलेशन पाए गए, तो फिर आप इंक्वायरी क्यों नहीं करा रहे हो? इस बात पर आप जवाब क्यों नहीं दे रहे हो? आप शपथ लेने अडानी जी के हवाई जहाज से आते हो. अब ममता बनर्जी शपथ लेने मुख्यमंत्री जी की अडानी जी के हवाई जहाज से तो नहीं आ रही है ना. तो यही हमारा सवाल है कि भाई आप क्यों एक व्यक्ति को इतना फेवर कर रहे हो? आप क्यों नहीं कह रहे हो, जब इतने सवाल खड़े हो रहे हैं चारों तरफ से, लगातार धड़ाम 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 उनके स्टॉक्स गिर रहे हैं, आप क्यों नहीं कह रहे हैं कि हाँ हम अपने देश के साथ हैं और अगर ऐसा कुछ ऑब्जेक्शन है, ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है तो हम इंक्वायरी करेंगे? ये इस बात में प्रधानमंत्री जी को क्या इस बात से हो रहा है? वो कह दें कि भाई हम इंक्वायरी कराएंगे.
Right. Yeah, you made your point. Salim, how do you interpret Prime Minister's silence over this issue? If you can unmute. Yeah.
The Adani.
Yeah, it's
Can you
okay.
hear me?
I can hear. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I think it is very clear that Adani is Modi and Modi is Adani. You could also see in 2005, 16,000 acres of land was given square feet of 10 paise to 1 rupee. Yes, there have been counter argument from the BJP side would be no, these are wasteland. But it's also pertinent to note that the audit committee has already said these were wrongly classified as wastelands, and this was to promote someone. And these lands, 49% till date is unutilized, and remaining 51% has been leased out to a public sector company, union government owned, at 1,000x the price. So it is very clear that Honorable Prime Minister has been supporting Adani even before he became the Prime Minister. And it's also no coincidence that from 2014 until 2022 December, Adani's wealth increased from 40,000 crores to 11 lakh crores. We know what happened in Australia. When he went to Australia, the Prime Minister himself lobbied for the coal deal. Not just that, the pertinent questions asked by Rahul Gandhi on Prime Minister Modi's foreign tours and contracts subsequently awarded to Adani is removed from the parliamentary proceedings. I don't know why the government has to.
But there are processes in place. There are checks and balances already there. Why should the Prime Minister step in? Won't you give an opportunity for the system to see to it that what are the if things are wrong, why are they wrong? Maybe Surya, do you think that the processes that are in place are sufficient to give a confidence to an investor like you that things will be clear at the end of the day.
Yes, I mean, I think that India has its systems in place, and I think we also know that a lot of companies, and I think this was mentioned by one of the topmost finance academics, Ashwath Damodaran, in a fantastic thread, that India has its systems, but those systems have loopholes, and those loopholes have been exploited for a very long time, and they continue
Yeah.
to be exploited by many companies, and in many ways,
Mm.
that still those are still technically legal. A lot of what is happening is still legal. It's just
Yeah.
that the tightness of the regulatory framework is not as you would see in some other countries. But I would like to make a few other points, if you would give me just
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
Zafarji. We have to look at companies like Adani, Ambani, JSW, and a host of other ones in the context of what India aspires to do in the future as a power that can industrialize first at home, develop scale,
Right.
generate employment. First, you need to be able to develop scale. Scale is not developed by not leveraging. You have to borrow money. You have to sink money into large investments and be able to keep growing and acquire assets and vertically integrate. When you vertically integrate, you guarantee profits. As an investor, I look for profits that can be repeated performance of profit delivery every single year. Integrated companies can secure themselves from supply chain shocks, external shocks to their supply chain. And Adani is able to do this because they've been able to vertically integrate, to a large extent because they've been able to leverage. And
Mm.
that is one of the reasons why the stock price has not, I mean, it came off because
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of movement, but it has rebounded 100% from its lows,
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
100%. So, and I also, I mean, maybe at a later point in time in our discussion, there are many examples of companies being close to governments throughout history as countries have industrialized, as they've got moved from farm to factory, factory to services. We see it pretty much across the world. And it seems kind of hypocritical for us to castigate ourselves as an economy that should not have large industries which are critical to our infrastructure and to our national development being close to the government, because this happens everywhere in the world. I mean, it happened with the Rockefellers. It happened to United Fruit
Right.
Company in the U.S.
Yeah.
In the early 1900s. It's continued in the U.S. till today. Will the U.S.
Right.
ever let any of their oil companies, which have been involved in, mass environmental damage, whether it's ExxonMobil or Britain, in the case of Britain, BP, do they ever allow these companies to go down? Banks, JP Morgan, Barclays, they're involved in market manipulation. They've been fined and they continue to operate. And it does not seem to affect in any way their reputation. So we need to look at this from a much larger context,
Right.
and assess it in that way.
Tavleen, it's something that's happening across the world. It's not unique to India, as is being pointed out. But I wanted to ask you about the narrative that's been built by Rahul Gandhi. You said that it started in 2014, but nothing. We saw that narrative of Rafale. Nothing worked out in the end for Congress Party and Rahul Gandhi. Do you think that Congress will be able to sustain this sort of a narrative linking Adani with the Prime Minister right in the Parliament? Will they be able to take it forward, or it will just die down?
I doubt that they will be able to sustain it because actually the Prime Minister, in his speech in the Lok Sabha particularly, when he listed what he has done on the ground
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
said that 140 crore Indians are my Govt, he's right. I mean, I don't, on the street, nobody is, maybe in television studios we're talking about Adani that much. Nobody really cares because what he has delivered on the ground is what matters. So I don't think this is going to damage him. I also want to make the point to carry forward what Surya was saying, that
Yeah.
yes, this has happened all over the world, but forget about the world. What about India?
Yeah.
From the time that I covered elections, Indira Gandhi had, I don't want to name any names, but we all know that there
Yeah.
were crony capitalists then. In under Sonia Gandhi, Rahul is a fine one to talk actually, because it wasn't just crony capitalism; it was crony capitalism inside the family. His brother-in-law was involved in these deals. So I think that once more all of this hysteria is going to fall flat on its face, because in the end what matters to the average Indian voter is he going to get water in his tap? Is Modi going to deliver on that? He's already been given gas. He's already
Yeah.
been given all sorts of things that he never had before. And that is what is going to matter, not this hysteria.
This is an entirely different issue. Dolly Sharma, there's a disconnect here. What the things that matter to people are entirely different than what's being talked about. People may talk about it, it may be in focus for some time, but in the end, people are concerned about day-to-day issues. And it's not something new. As Tavleen points out, in the past, it has happened that big business groups have been close to the governments in this country.
Yeah, I would like to Madam Chair, that when it comes to delivery of what he promised, I would like to raise a question that he has promised to double the income of farmers, and see where are the farmers. They're not. I come from Western UP, and Ganna Kisan are sitting for their dues, and they're not getting it. And forget about the MSP and anything that they promised during elections. Nothing. Farmers have got nothing. They promised 2 crore jobs in a year, which becomes 18 crores now. And today, what we are seeing in India is 45 years high unemployment. So youth is getting nothing, farmers are getting nothing, and when it comes to price rise, the prices of gas, prices of petrol, prices of diesel, and in fact, for that matter, there is a 40% increase in the rates of atta flour, and also there is an increase in the rate. They are putting GST on curd, on paneer, on every daily thing which is used on the daily basis, and which is affecting the middle class. And the repo rate that increased yesterday, the EMI that the middle class is going to pay is now increased to 800 rupees now. So this is affecting the day-to-day life.
Okay, Tavleen, you want to quickly come in before I go to Dr. Shraddha Rajput? Yes. If you can unmute.
78% approval. And why Yogi Adityanath won in UP? If the Kisans are in such bad trouble, why is the Congress party not being able to win elections? That's what she needs to explain.
Very important point. Dr. Shraddha Rajput, you want to come in and respond?
See, Madam Sharma, farmers want neem-coated urea drip irrigation system for irrigation and 24/7 uninterrupted electricity and minimum support price for their crops. Okay, we worked on that. Have you worked on that? Have you worked on the electricity in the villages? There are villages in the remote area. After independence, we reached there and that village got the electricity. We are the government who talked about neem-coated urea. We are the government who talked about the drip irrigation system. We talked about MSP. किसान बिल को अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमें वापस लेना पड़ा, लेकिन उसको भी आज स्टडी किया जाए तो वो किसानों के लिए था. We the people who talked about the शौचालय, बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी फोर्स पे जो काम किया गया है, पॉस्को अमेंडमेंट्स पे काम किया गया, एंड नंबर ऑफ जो योजनाएं हैं जिसके बारे में 2 दिन से पार्लियामेंट के अंदर प्राइम मिनिस्टर बोल रहे हैं. शर्मा जी, मैं ये चाहती हूँ कि कांग्रेस को अभी जो हम लोगों ने बजट, निर्मला सीतारमण जी ने जो बजट दिया था, उसके प्रोज एंड कॉन्स पे डिस्कशन करना चाहिए. एज अ टैक्स पेयर, आई वांट दैट डिस्कशन दैट टू बी डन इन द पार्लियामेंट. You people have entirely given the wrong direction to the parliament. पूरा डिस्कशन आपने अदानी पे कर दिया. आपको ये जो यूनियन बजट आया हुआ है, इसके अंदर कोई प्रोस कॉन्स, इसके लिए किसी आदिवासियों के लिए या ट्राइबल पॉकेट्स के लिए या जिनके लिए कुछ दिया गया है या मिडिल क्लास के लिए दिया है, उसके ऊपर आपने डिस्कशन नहीं किया है. सो इफ यू आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट द जनरल पीपल इन असेंबली, और आप सोचते हो कि आप इस देश के बारे में बात कर रहे हो, आपने इस देश के बारे में कहीं बात नहीं की. बात करने का जो जरिया पार्लियामेंट के अंदर था, हैव यू टॉक्ड अबाउट द वुमेन, हैव यू टॉक्ड अबाउट द जेंडर बजट, हैव यू टॉक्ड अबाउट द फार्मर बजट, हैव यू टॉक्ड अबाउट द एकलव्य बजट व्हिच इज गिवन इन द यूनियन.
Let's Salim respond.
So see, I have to. I want to first counter and then say a few points that you want to say. See, with regards to electrification, as usual, this government has kind of changed the benchmark. There was also a very interesting article in The Economist a month back, which says earlier during the Congress regime or the UPA regime, 90% of the village has to be electrified to be counted as being electrified. But now there has to be a lamp post, and the public, if just the public buildings are electrified, then the whole village is electrified. So they've changed the benchmark to show that the performance is better. And going to the budget, this budget just have names. Rhetoric does not mean performance. You need to allocate fund. Manrega funds has been reduced from 1 lakh crores to 60,000 crores the last 2 years, a 50% reduction. Funds for food safety has been reduced. Food for fertilizers have been reduced at a time when food inflation is highest. Fertilizer subsidy has reduced in this country. If you look at the money allocated for agriculture on real terms, right, is reduced by about 1%. Farmers' income from 2014 to
But Salim,
2022.
then why is that not the centerpiece of the opposition's response or argument in the parliament? Why is it
I think,
Adani then?
no, no, I think, I can speak for DMK, and DMK has clearly raised all these points in the parliament, and this is, and Adani is more important because no country can survive if there is institutional degradation. The institutional degradation in India is real, and that is why if you look last year, foreign institutional investors have left the market than ever before in history. $16 billion have left India. That's equivalent to 1.5 lakh crores. Why? Because the institutions are arbitrary. If you're a friend of the government, then you can do whatever you want. If you're enemy of the government, even if things are perfect, then ED will harass you. My question is, there are 5 shell companies which are linked to Adani as per the report. They have pumped in about more than a lakh of crores. They hold up to 10 to 15% of equity in each of the Adani companies. These companies have not invested before any other company, not after investing Adani. No one knows where this money has come from. What was the RBI, SEBI, and ED doing? There's one more company, DMCC, which has direct links to Adani's brother, has time and again invested 10,000 crores, 5,000 crores arbitrarily only in Adani group of companies, don't have any employers. They don't, all their websites have come up in a single day. So if government wants to come clean, they can give the list of people who have donated via electoral bonds. We can see if Adani has donated or not, if there is any quid pro quo. Why are they not doing it? So there is a clear quid pro quo, and that is why the government is getting paranoid and they don't want to have a discussion on Adani. But it's very clear this is one of the biggest scams the country has ever seen. And
Yes. Now, let me go to Surya again. The sequence of events over the last few days, has it raised a question mark on the credibility of India as a destination to attract foreign investors and as a growth engine? Has it
I
impacted?
genuinely do not think so,
Yeah.
Zaffarji, because India's growth is right now driven by two major factors. One is
Yeah.
the demographic dividend, which creates a consumption and services-led growth story, and on the other hand, there is an infrastructure growth story, and the infrastructure growth is absolutely essential for bringing down inflation, because when you connect the country better, you can integrate domestic markets, and through that you reduce inflation. When you reduce inflation, eventually you can reduce interest rates. When you reduce interest rates, you improve capital formation. Companies can borrow money and they can start businesses when interest rates are lower, and then you have having hello yes
Yes,
sorry
yes, we can.
you will
Yes.
end up having you essentially will have two major streams of growth, and I don't think that these are necessarily going to stop, because there are some questions around corporate governance of one company in the country, and I have admitted before that this company is absolutely critical in many ways for India's effort to build comprehensive national power, both especially abroad. You look at Adani's investments in ports across the world. We as a country, and I think all of us panelists can agree with this, that we would like to become a dominant force in the Indo-Pacific. And for this, we can't just rely on public sector units. Public sector units
Right.
have consistently underperformed over the decades, and there are many reasons for it. Labor laws, we have a
Yeah.
reservation system. We don't have the right incentive structures necessarily, which unleash the animal spirits which are required within a company to be able to perform at the optimal level. So we
But
have to
but
rely
but
on private companies for
quickly,
this, and Adani
Surya,
is doing this. And
Surya, do you think that the losses that's been suffered by the Adani Group, will it be able to continue with its infrastructure projects that you have been pointing out? Will it be able to continue with them to build those infrastructure projects?
Zafarji, I actually think that a lot of what they already have in the pipeline, that won't be affected by a drawdown in market cap. But future expansion plans, things that they might have had in their minds for potentially doing in the future, which have not come in the press, I think those could potentially be affected until their cash flows start increasing. It's a profit generating company right now, right? There's no issue that about it's the fact that it's generating profit. It can pay its coupons on its debt, and that's exactly one of the reasons why we've seen some prepayment of the bonds, due to which the market has rallied. Among for that, that's just one of many reasons. And the eventually the stock price will stabilize, and if they're able to continue delivering on the businesses that they've invested in so far, then eventually market confidence will improve and they'll be able to expand. But I think that in the short term they'll probably consolidate what they have and then move ahead.
Right, right. Dolly Sharma, Congress has been saying that Prime Minister should speak on this matter, the points that have been raised by Rahul Gandhi, but most of the things have been expunged. Why should the Prime Minister react then? If you can unmute, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So it is not only the Congress. It is, you must have seen Hindenburg's report. The way Adani is working is visible to all, not only Congress, it is visible to the entire country. The LIC has put in money, SBI has given loans, everyone knows what is happening. So if we are raising a question, what is the harm? It is actually people's money which is put in, and we are asking, it is basically the question of this nation. And we were just asking for an inquiry from the Prime Minister. And if everything's fine and everything's okay as per the Prime Minister, so why he's not agreeing to the inquiry? He must have come in front and say that, yes, okay, we'll do an inquiry and let's go ahead with the inquiry. Why he's not okay with the JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committee? They're not okay with it. They're not talking on all those issues only. So, and he only said, Prime Minister only said, he used very strong words in the past, calling on world leaders at G20 meets to eliminate safe havens for economic offenders, to track down and unconditionally extradite money launderers, and to break down the web of complex international regulations and excessive banking secrecy that hide the corrupt and their deeds. Yet these same world leaders cannot have missed the high degree of tolerance you've shown for such activities by your own cronies. So if we feel this is happening in India, he should say yes to the inquiry. This is what the Congress is demanding. And not only Congress, all the other opposition parties also demanding the same thing. And time and again, we are raising the questions of the common people also. But now this becomes very important because the money of the people are involved.
Last night on the issue of GST, the Adani group has come up with a statement that its operations are in compliance. Why I'm saying, because Himachal is a state ruled by the Congress party, and it comes just a few days after Rahul Gandhi made that statement in the parliament. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah, I was asking Tavleen, can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I didn't know who the question was for.
No, the question was, I wanted to ask you that since Himachal is ruled by Congress and these raids come just a couple of days after Rahul Gandhi spoke in the parliament, do you think some sort of a connection, and would this country, as I was asking, that how is the Congress going to sustain its campaign or narrative? Is that a link to that?
No, of course the Congress party is going to now try to harass Adani wherever they can. And the link is pretty clear. And as I said before, the Congress party cannot afford to talk, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this business of suddenly you're concerned about the country for 70 years, if we haven't actually become a developed country, 75 years, most of the blame for that goes to the Congress party, because the Congress party did not allow the private sector to grow. Now, I think that the one thing that we have to remember is that Adani has grown exponentially faster than
Yeah.
any other company in India.
Yeah.
Now that is worrying and worries a lot of other Indian businessmen. And
Yeah.
this thing, this big drama that has been about ease of doing business, that hasn't happened. There are
Yeah.
many companies that haven't discovered the secret of ease of doing business. I live in Bombay, and I promise you that it's ease of doing business for a very select group of businessmen, and that isn't good for India. It's not good for Modi, and it's really something he should use this opportunity to to rectify and to actually make it easier for other Indian companies to grow. I mean, it makes no
Right.
sense that one company has grown 600 times or
Yeah.
whatever it is, 700 times, and everybody else is just bumbling along. That makes no
So,
sense to me.
Dr. Shraddha Rajput, it's important to dispel that perception that the business elite of the country is close to the ruling dispensation. Isn't it all the more important then, as Tavleen was saying, that one company has grown exponentially, and that causes fear and worries among other business groups.
So that can be a debatable point. I am not denying for that, but okay, इसका भी debate होना चाहिए. तो जो दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी साथ, I'm not denying that. See, first of all, I would like to say that we are the country who believes in the agriculture project first, because 70% our country is dependent on the farm and the farm project. But do we need industrialist or not? First of all, that is the debate. Why we always blaming our industries, industrialist and business? Are we not need a industrialist business, because they are also generating the employment, development, infrastructure, upgradation, so many things. They are also contributing something to our country, and we need that public-private partnership. This is also our policy. And in past, see, I'm not the spokesperson of Infosys, I'm not the spokesperson for Ambani, but in my studies, I have seen that in past also Infosys and Ambani's also dropped down by 50% some of the time, and gradually they come out from this, and right now they are stable. So let whatever the Adani ji is doing, क्या हो रहा है हिंडबर्ग की रिपोर्ट, क्या वो उनका बिजनेस है, उनको देखने दो. Why we worry for that, and why you people want के means specifically opposition Congress?
Because LIC, because SPI, because there are
See,
other
LIC has that's
people,
why no, it's a
institutions
very
where
right
people are
question. But
directly linked to that.
LIC and State Bank of India has given that statements. We do have a right to ask any question. हमने कभी नहीं कहा कि कोई भी यानी प्राइम मिनिस्टर सर ने भी कहा है कि हमेशा आप पूछते रहिए क्वेश्चन. अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने भी कहा कि निंदक नियर राखी है. क्रिटिसिज्म होना चाहिए और क्रिटिसिज्म पे आंसर देने चाहिए. दैट इज द पार्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, एंड वी बिलीव इन अ स्ट्रांग डेमोक्रेसी. But the way opposition is behaving, it is a fair enough democracy. It is a healthy democracy. Why they become personalized? My issue is
Okay.
that why they are
Okay.
asking a question which is too personalized, which is too attacking only Narendra Modi. नरेंद्र मोदी जी को सुबह से अटैक
Right.
करना शुरू करो, शाम
Right.
तक अटैक
Right.
करो.
Right. They are asking the question which may not be pertinent, but there's no harm in answering that question also. So that brings us to the end of our show. Thanks to all our panelists for joining us today. That's all we have on the show. Thanks for watching.
Sharma ji,
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.